On today's show, I am an absolute clown because I completely overestimated the Clippers as they lost by 1 point at the Intuit Dome to the Portland Trailblazers on Wednesday night. What went so wrong for the Clips? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA, which is the city of champions once more. Congratulations to the Dodgers and all Dodger fans. My boy Jeff Snyder over at Locked On Dodgers. It is an incredible time to be an LA sports fan right now, and the Clippers are part of that, except not on this particular night. You can follow me on Locked On. You can follow me at Dime Dropper Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and of course subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where I was posting some videos of downtown on Wednesday night. And of course, Locked On Clippers, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, where I want you to let me know what you thought was the biggest problem with this disappointing loss to the Portland Trailblazers by a score of 106-105. We are now 0-2 at our new stadium. And before we get started with the episode, it is brought to you by FanDuel, America's number one sports book. Head over to FanDuel.com to get your betting fix on all things sports, NBA, NFL, you name it. Baseball season is over. The Dodgers are champions. I'm buzzing. I mean, I obviously don't love hearing about the loss. I watched the game, and that's why the episode is coming to you so late. It's not a regular occurrence, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. It's one of my teams won a championship. And it's like, what am I supposed to do? You know, that doesn't happen for me much as a local LA sports fan that's a Clipper fan. So it's special time to be alive. Shout out to the Clipper crowd making noise. I thought when they saw the final out. But let's talk about some things in this game, right? I thought the number one reason we lost, free throws. We got 6 more free throw attempts than the Portland Trailblazers, and we lost by 1 point. The Blazers in the game were 10 for 12 from the foul line. We were 10 for 18. In addition to that, I thought Norman Powell and James Harden did a little too much foul baiting. A lot of times they drove, and in Norm's case, if the hand is in the cookie jar or he gets bumped, he flails a bit. Harden, when they come down in any way with the hand, he tries to throw it up for a foul at times on the drive. Those two did a little bit too much of that, but let's be honest. We still had our chances to win the game at the line. Ivica Zubac missed 2 free throws at the end of the game and shot 2 for 6 from the foul line. So, yeah, Zubac and James Harden, who are the 2 best players on this team without Kawhi Leonard, I thought they were the biggest reason we lost. As the team's best players, if they don't play well, it's very hard to say, hey, everybody else pick up the slack. Although Norman Powell is making a case for our second best player after Harden right now with the way he's playing. I might have to put him there, but who knows? Let me know in the comments. Is Norman Powell the better player in your opinion, or Zubac, considering what he does on both ends and rebounding? And then at the end, I'm going to be talking about Norm and focusing on a positive heading into Thursday night's back-to-back against the Phoenix Suns, in which I do not know if I'll be attending. We're cutting it close. But, yeah, free throws, ladies and gentlemen. You got to make your free throws to win games, especially in crunch time. And with this Clipper team and the way that we play, we are going to defend. We are going to play better against good teams than people realize because we will be able to contain their stars. And in this game, the Portland Trailblazers don't have an all-star on their roster. Their best player is Anthony Simons to me. Some might say DeAndre Ayton. I just don't see the aggression on a consistent enough basis to say that. And by the way, he completely outplayed Zoo again. I don't understand if there's a psychological thing there, but we'll talk about that more in the next segment. But Anthony Simons, he had 25 points to lead the way for Portland and 6 assists, and he only turned the ball over 1 time. He didn't shoot particularly well. 10 for 24 from the field and 3 for 9 from 3. But some of the finishes that he had over Zubac around the basket, I haven't seen anybody in the first 4 games of the season quite finish the ball over Zoo like that. Some really creative finishes where he was just kind of like a reverse or, the wraparound high off the glass. His touch was pretty impressive around the basket. And there were still moments where Zoo was a rim deterrent on Wednesday night, but it just didn't feel like he was as strong defending the rim, but maybe that was just Anthony Simons' incredible ability to finish like that. The thing about us is we're going to be in a lot of close games because we can defend and stay in games, but we also, depending on James Harden, offensively, we're already kind of not great, but if he's not shooting well, it's going to be hard to blow bad teams out, and it's going to be hard to beat good teams. And even given James Harden shooting 6 for 18 in the game, and Zubac shooting 2 for 7, and Derrick Jones Jr. shooting 4 for 11, we still were free throws away from winning the game. I mentioned Ivica Zubac shooting 2 for 6. James Harden 2 for 4. I mean, since when does James Harden shoot 50% from the line? If he had given us just one more, and that's not the first time I've said that this season in 4 games, which is pretty rare for James. I mean, look, I don't expect him to shoot efficiently every night. I haven't even been that critical of the lack of efficiency so far. But free throws, we got to hit those, especially a great free throw shooter like him. But Zubac having 2 for 6 is unacceptable. And I think when you miss free throws, there's not much else you can do in terms of like blaming everyone else. I mean, there's obviously other aspects of losing the game. I thought our defense wasn't as sharp as the last couple of games. There were certain times, even our best defenders, Chris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr., there were certain times where they went under a screen and they still got beat. If you're going under a screen, you cannot get the corner turned on you. The whole point of going under is that you're giving them the shot, but you're also able to get back in front. You're not fighting over where they have an angle now to get downhill, and now someone has to help. So Chris Dunn, and I get it. Scoot Henderson's really fast. I was pretty impressed with Scoot Henderson, and I was fairly critical of him. And I don't remember exactly how much I talked about him in the preview, but he wasn't too impressive his rookie year given the hype. There were people that were saying that he might be even better than Wemby. And I think a level of that was just trying to be contrarian and not go with the crowd. But let's just say after 1 year, it doesn't look very close. Scoot Henderson's not even starting for a rebuilding team, which would tell you a lot. But I thought his performance in this game was really good. He was getting downhill, and his first step was fantastic. And he was actually able to knock down some outside shots. In this game, he shot 2 for 3 from deep, 5 for 8 from the floor, had 14 points to go along with 3 rebounds and 6 assists. So he was even breaking the best of our defenders down. I was pretty surprised with the fact that we started with Terrence Mann guarding Simons instead of Derrick Jones Jr., but I don't think he got cooked by any means. I thought Terrence was better in this game than the last 2 games. He got some really great offensive rebounds, and he got out on the fast break a couple of times in the beginning of the game. He had that lob from Harden, but he's fouling too much unnecessarily, and Amir Coffey is getting to close games instead of him. So Terrence talked about, I don't care who starts before the season. I care about being there in the big moments. Well, right now he's getting outplayed by the Brewmaster, and I think it's solely because Amir Coffey is more confident offensively. He's just I'm going to say it. He's just a better shooter, I think. After watching them all these years, I think Amir's just a better shooter because that includes off the dribble, off the bounce, mid-range. I think he's better, and he's more confident in his shot, and he always has been. I don't think he's a better player. I think when Terrence is at his best, he's better. But he's got to be look, he was 2 for 5 for the game. He was 0 for 2 from 3. So far this season, the 3 ball hasn't been going. I'm not too concerned about that because I think a lot of it is he'll miss 1 or 2 and then he'll be like super not confident in his shot anymore. But he's got to still be better in terms of staying out of foul trouble. That's 2 games of the Intuit Dome that we've lost, and he's been in foul trouble. He was a +4 when he was on the court. There's never been a doubt, even when Terrence Mann struggles, that he's a net positive for the Clippers when he's out there. It's always been the case. We were winning games last year, even when he was in that horrific slump in the first half of the season. But so far, he is shooting 0% from 3. He hasn't made a 3 on the year yet in the first 4 games. So now teams are going to start giving that to him, and that might get in his head even more. I hope it doesn't because we need him, and I love him. But, yeah, we need that. But to me, free throws, the number one reason we lost the game. You're missing free throws at the end of a game. Even one of them makes a difference when you lose by one. And as far as the late game execution, I thought that was pretty poor as well. We went very stagnant at large portions of the game. And mainly, to me, because of guys like Kevin Porter Jr., who had a decent game in terms of compared to his other games so far this season. He was actually able to get some buckets, scored in double figures with 10 points to go along with 6 rebounds. But he turned the ball over 5 times, and it's just a lot of ball pounding. He shot 5 for 11 from the field and actually 4 for 7 from 2, but he was 0 for 4 from 3, and on his catch and shoot threes, he's like jumping forward and it looks kind of awkward. Even Jim Jackson made a comment about it. I don't know. That doesn't seem like what I saw in the highlights when he was shooting well from 3 on the catch and shoots in these last couple of years in Houston. And so far, I just don't love the KPJ experience. Maybe I'm critical of him because it was off the court and I can't look past that. And it's, by the way, it's not just that incident. He was a malcontent with Houston and Cleveland, and we have given him another chance. I'm trying to be objective about his basketball. I don't think he's been good so far, and I'm only saying this because I'm a little biased towards Bones Highland, because Bones Highland came to give us some juice off the bench and essentially replace Reggie Jackson, and that he actually was good that second half of when we got him in that 2023 season. First couple games of the 2023-24 season, he was electric. Fans are getting super excited about him. And then Harden comes in, Westbrook becomes a backup, and then Bones gets out of the rotation. And now this year we think for sure with Westbrook on, it's time for Bones Highland, and you bring in KPJ, who I think has just kind of been a ball pounder. But at the same time, we don't have another guy off the bench. If we're going to go with Harden out, we need someone else to create. But coming up, I have something to say about that, about how we can maybe better the second unit's chances of scoring, and also the main players that lost us the game. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And coming up this weekend, the Chargers are out at the Browns. They're -1.5. I'd honestly take the Chargers on that. Then the Rams are at the Seahawks. They're -1.5. So both LA teams on the road, -1.5. You can go to FanDuel.com for all of that. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, back here to talk about this unfortunate loss from the Clippers by 1 point. And man, I have to contribute the loss mostly to Zuno, as they're calling it, Ivica Zubac and James Harden. Let's start with James. I said before the season that this is a weight that he has not had to carry since the 2016-17 season without Kawhi Leonard. He's 35 years old. It's not as easy for him to get shots off in general, let alone good ones. And I, re-looked at all the shots he took. And I didn't think any of the shots were necessarily easy. You can make the argument that some are easy for him because he's such a great shot maker. But let's just take threes out of the equation, even open threes, which are easy shots for James Harden, in my opinion. They are. But it's still a three-point shot. It's still a deep shot. It's not like an auto bucket, like the wide open floater. And you could make an argument that that's not been an auto bucket from James the last couple of years, but or like a layup, you know what I'm saying? Or wide open, something really easy. Besides wide open threes, which is the easiest you can go, those contested layups were not very easy. Those floaters were not easy. Those mid-ranges were not easy. And a lot of the threes are not easy. But I'm not saying they're bad shots for him. I don't think too many of them were bad shots. Let me just clarify that. And I'll criticize James when I think he takes bad shots. I don't think many of them were bad shots. but they're not very easy. And I don't think James, Paul George, or Kawhi Leonard, last year, that was one of the flaws of the team to me, is that none of them necessarily generated easy baskets individually. James Harden is the best at generating easy baskets for the team, but for themselves, it seems like even in isolation, they're not getting the cleanest looks, right? James was 5 for 11 from 3, so he actually had the 3 ball going on, even though he missed a lot of good looks that he'd usually make. Like, I still think James Harden is, like, there's a game from 3 coming up that he's going to explode because he's been getting some decent looks, and he's a great player. In one game, he's just going to get on a heater. It's inevitable. He's been struggling to shooting the 3 to start the season, but in this game, 5 for 11, that's very good. Usually, I'd have a problem with him having majority of his shots being threes, 11 threes to 7 twos, but he was shooting 45.5% from 3. The thing that was a problem for James in this game was the in-between game. The in-between game, which I'm happy that he's taking, but he's really got no choice. If he wants to take a lot of shots in a game, he has to embrace that mid-range, that floater, because he just does not have the same burst and elevation that he once did. So it's not as easy for him to, get downhill and just truck someone and then still elevate. You know what I mean? So smoothly. And just how quick he was with the first step. He's clearing guys and they're on his back. Guys were guarding him with hands behind their back because, he was so good at getting that foul going downhill because you could not stay in front of him. You had to put your hands on him. He has to take that mid-range shot, and he was taking it, but he was 0 for 4 in floaters / mid-ranges on Wednesday night. So it just wasn't falling for him, but I'm still happy with him taking those shots. I just think there were some tough possessions between him and KPJ where it's a lot of dribbling and just not holding the ball a little too long, and that can stagnate our offense. And you got to give the Blazers credit. Their defensive pressure actually really impressed me. I was pretty sleep on some of their young defensive guys. Scoot Henderson, Toumani Camara, who held James Harden at 2 for 8 shooting. I saw some Blazers account post on Twitter. And Chris Murray, Keegan Murray's brother, those guys were getting after it, and they were getting really physical, and they made us look like the less athletic and older team, which we've looked like more athletic. We got all these guys like Chris Dunn, Derek Jones, Terrence Mann. Even Kai Jones got minutes in this game to start the season, but these guys took it to us physically. So Norman Powell talked about after the game, we got to be a little more physical, a little more ready for that. I think that kind of threw us off guard. I think that threw me off guard watching the game too. So shout out to Toumani Camara. That's a good defensive prospect they got over there. So this is the best part about watching these games. You get to know more about every team when you watch. And you never quite know how good someone is till your team plays them. But they made life tough for James. They made life tough for KPJ. And I think that stagnated our offense a bit. But if you're James, KPJ, honestly, don't expect much better because we've yet to see if he can even be a good contributor on a good team. Remember, 20 points on a terrible team. Look, if you put James Harden, right now, this James Harden, on that Houston Rockets team, he would literally average 30 and 13, I bet. Even now, I swear. Because if there's nothing to lose and it's a dysfunctional environment and you're just having the ball and getting ready to chuck with guys injured and you're tanking, he could average 30 and 13 to me. So I don't expect better from him necessarily. But James, I've seen, the holding the ball is part of the reason why I wasn't, I'm not too big on the way he plays, but he can still be better. He's been better about that this season. He was just waiting a little too long at times. And then late in the game, he was poor. It was the second game. Both games at Intuit Dome. If you're the guy, which he is right now, and I have guys in the comments talking about he could be an MVP candidate. Okay, then. If you're holding him to that standard, I think you're being delusional because he's 35 years old. He was perennial MVP candidate in his prime. It's okay that he's not now. We just need him. If he's going to be an all-star the way he's playing. He's going to be an all-star. But we are relying on him a lot. And if he wants to dominate the ball like that, especially when Norman Powell has 30 points towards the end of a game, which I don't mind because he is the guy and he is the best shot creator on the team by a landslide, he's got to bring us home. He can't be missing free throws. He turned the ball over late. And then that inbounds pass on that last play. So, by the way, there was a possession where James Harden got blitzed. He made a solid pass over the top, I believe to Derek Jones Jr., who swung it over to Amir. And he could have made the extra swing to Norm. I forget who it was that was closing out, but they did a good job putting their hands up, so it would have been a tough pass to make. A tougher pass to make, I should say. But I think he could have gotten it over to him. Norm was on a heater. He should have got the ball there. He should have been attempted to pass to there. Amir was open. He took the shot. It wasn't a bad shot. and he missed. But we really needed to give the ball to Norm at the end of the game because he was carrying us in the scoring department all night long. And we didn't get the ball to him. And then on the last play of the game, by the way, and also James didn't box out Toumani Camara when the ball ended up being tipped out of Zubac's hands. If James had put a body on Camara, he might have delayed him just a second even, and Zoo could have just grabbed that rebound with nobody coming over because Zoo did a good job getting in front of Ayton, and he got the ball tipped, and Ayton made that tough jump hook. It was just very frustrating. And then the last play of the game, I saw what Ty Lue was trying to do. He cleared out the right side. He wanted Harden to throw the lob pass over to Zoo. And then when Zoo caught the ball, I think he was going to have Amir set a little flare screen for Norm to come back around for that right wing three, which actually the Lakers just did that play against the Suns for Austin Reeves. I think that's what they were going for. Or because we were down by one, maybe he wanted to go Zubac's post-up instead of obviously not a three. Maybe that was the thing. But Zubac's post-up for the win, that doesn't seem like Ty Lue. And by the way, Ayton was holding him. That was a foul. But of course, they didn't call it. But that pass was poor from James. I don't know how he's an incredible passer, but I don't know how he thought with one hand he was going to just lob it over and it was going to be perfectly over the whole side of the court like that. Usually I would think, I've seen James, and it's, more fundamental to do the overhead pass on the cross court, which James does a really good job of throwing, honestly. So that was fairly careless, in my opinion. But as far as Zubac, so yeah, James, he did not have a good shooting game, and he also is continuing his habit of turning the ball over just too much. And in losses, it really sticks out. I said I had no problem if we won, but in losses, it sticks out. So he had 19 points, 5 rebounds, 10 assists, and 3 steals. So the double-double, he's been a double-double machine. He's going to be a double-double. He's going to be 10-plus assists. He might lead the league in assists, which is incredible at this age. 6 for 18 from the field for him, though. 5 for 11 from 3. So that means he was 1 for 7 from 2. The 2 for 4 from the line is honestly the most disappointing for me than the 5 turnovers. But Zubac was no better. I hyped him up. I was saying he's ready to take on Ayton. And he shot 7 times. He shot 2 for 7. 2 of those shots were tips that he missed, and he was just trying to keep the possession alive. But that wasn't good enough for me. He wasn't trying to get post position. He wasn't asking for the ball. And I get it. It's on the coaching staff a lot. But there are some possessions where we're deep into the shot clock. We're just looking to get something. And Zoo's constantly coming up to set a screen. Even when they went to a zone, he didn't try to get the ball in the high post, especially which he should, because now he's got that little push shot. So if he catches the ball at the foul line, he might be able to get to that. I was just very disappointed that he only got the ball one time on the block. We cannot revert back after doing what he just did in the last 2 games to, what we've had the last couple of years, which is we don't give him the ball and stuff like that. But he also needs to be more assertive. Whenever he plays Ayton, I don't know why he cowers like that. And to miss free throws at the end was just tough. But coming up, a more positive note, and then talking about some of the other guys' performances in this one, like Norman Powell. All right, so the Clippers losing the game 106-105. It's really a disappointing loss, guys. I can't lie. We should be winning these games against teams like that. I understand I underestimated them, and maybe the team did too, but I'm just going to be honest. It's going to be very hard to win games when James Harden doesn't play well. I said that before the season even began so many times. This is what happens when we don't have our best player. It's very tough. It's very tough. And by the way, I saw that clip of, Kawhi standing up on the bench and he was only putting weight on one leg. I've got nothing to say, but it doesn't seem like he's coming back anytime soon. I'm not even going to say anything more. I'll let you guys say whatever you want in the comments, but it's a lot of weight on James Harden, and this is not what we got him for or re-signed him for either. It's a lot for him. This is game 5 coming up on Thursday. We don't want him to burn out. But we should have gone to Norman Powell more late in the game. He was incredible, and I think he's been fantastic so far to start this season. In this one, he had 30 points to go along with 5 boards, 2 assists, and a steal, and he only had 1 turnover. On 11 for 22 shooting, 5 for 10 from 3, and 3 for 3 from the line. So 50-100 splits in 35 minutes. Quite impressive. He's been great. And again, a lot of it is off the catch, working quick, just being aggressive, attacking closeouts, shooting the ball. He's been doing a little bit more going to his left this season on those curls. I've been seeing that. So maybe he's like, you got to shut up. But, I'm always supporting Norman Powell. Love the guy. He's a really nice guy. And I say that because I did interact with him once or twice, and super cool dude. And I've been a fan of him since UCLA. And he's got that runner going to his left where his right hand is squared to the basket. So we should have just gone to him more late in the game. But Zubac and Harden, I think those were the main reasons we lost, those guys. Derrick Jones Jr. didn't shoot well. I thought he didn't defend as well as the previous game. Same with Chris Dunn. As I said a couple of times, going under a screen, they got caught, but they were pretty good overall. 9 points for Derrick, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, a block, no turnovers. But he did shoot 4 for 11 from the field and 1 for 3 from deep. I talked about Terrence, 4 points, 4 boards, 3 of those offensive boards, 3 assists, just 1 turnover on 2 for 5 from the field and 0 for 2 from 3. He only played 19 minutes, though. But yeah, with Norm, I think we just got to keep looking to get him involved even more. He's averaging 26 points a game to start the season. 26 on 51, 43, 87 splits. So maybe I'm not ready to say he's a better scorer than James Harden, even now. But we got to maybe look at it as it's a little closer than we think. James Harden is shooting better from 3 now after that game. He went from 19% to 27% overnight. He's shooting 35.5% from the field, though, right now, so we need a little bit more efficient, especially to beat Phoenix. But, yeah, who else? Chris Dunn, I thought he was pretty good, did some good things. I like the floor that Chris Dunn's going to be able to play at. He's always going to be positive, I think, because of his defense and his athleticism and energy. He had 6 points, 2 boards, 2 assists, just 1 turnover on 3 for 3 shooting. And Kai Jones got some run. My only criticism of Kai Jones is his screening. It seems like he's not actually making contact on those screens, and they're not ghost screens. He should be hitting his man, which is also preventing Kevin Porter from getting as much of an advantage as obviously the guys that are playing with Zoo are getting when he's setting screens. But I also believe that KPJ on some of them was taking too wide of an angle, coming over those screens. So I've noticed that going to his right, he comes off tighter. Amir Coffey, thought he was pretty solid. 9 points, but he didn't register in any other category, but including turnovers. That's good. He did have 2 fouls. 4 for 7 from the field, 1 for 3 from deep. Nico only got 13 minutes, and I don't know how I feel about that because I actually thought he was pretty good. He had 5 points, 2 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals on 2 for 4 shooting, 1 for 3 from deep in just 13 minutes. I don't know about him just playing 13 minutes. So, especially when Amir and Terrence, to me, like they're playing. Terrence is not playing very well. Amir Coffey's been solid, but Nico's still pretty good. I think he can still give you like 20. We shot 45.6% from the field, so not great, but not awful. They shot even worse, 44.6%. But here's the difference. We shot 36% from 3. They shot 42% from 3. They ended up making 1 more, which you could argue is the difference in the game. But I pointed more to free throws because 3s are 3s. Free throws, unacceptable. You go 10 for 18. So anyway, terrible loss. But this is the great part about basketball. We bounce back on Thursday, and we forget it because that's a tougher game. We already lost to Phoenix. Let's see if we can get them. It's a back-to-back, though, which is tough. Let me see if I'm at the game. I probably have to end the episode to try to get to the game. So you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. By the way, my point on this segment was Norman Powell maybe should be looked at as closer to our best scorer than we thought. I still think Harden's a better scorer, but Norman Powell is looking pretty good. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel for more Clipper content, but this weekend Dodger content. And Locked On Clippers, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Let me know what you thought of the game, and go Clippers. The age-old problem continues.